This is your astrology forecast for the week of March 24th through the 30th. This is the week to pay attention to because there's so many things happening. As a reminder, I am Laura Chung. I am a Western tropical astrologer. I use the whole sign house system and free Palestine. So you've had your warning. You can click away, find another astrologer if my vibe does not fit with you. My vibe meaning that I care about humanity and life here on Earth. So, just as a recap, because the month of March has been astrologically busy, and I think one thing is happening after another, and I hope that you are taking the time to journal, to reflect, to ask yourself the important questions. We are fully into retrogrades right now. Venus is in retrograde in the sign of Aries, and Mercury is in the sign of Aries, also retrograde. So those are two inner planets. As you know, you have the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. So they're two inner planets, are the ones closest to the Sun. And these are relational planets. So, like I've been saying, if your exes or ex friends, lovers don't come back during these simultaneous retrogrades, then that means that you've learned a lesson and you've shifted timelines successfully. If not, then there's still something left unsaid, maybe a chapter that has not fully closed, or something that you need to let go of in order for you to move on. So, yesterday, so I'm filming this on Sunday, March 23rd, which is the Sun Pluto sextile. So I'm feeling very frisky. But yesterday was the Venus Cazimi. And that was a pretty big deal in the Venus cycle. It is the halfway point, it's a 40-day retrograde. And my book, I wrote during a Venus retrograde in Capricorn. Like, when was that? 2021 to 2022. And there are many significant spiritual reasons why 40 days is significant. I studied Kundalini yoga and we practice a Kriya for 40 days to undo a habit and create new ones. So, not so subtle plug there. This was an inferior conjunction, meaning that Venus was moving between the Earth and the Sun. And Venus has been an evening star, which, if you follow me on Instagram, you see all of my stories that I post about seeing Venus in the nighttime sky. This is the more yin feminine expression of Venus. And after this retrograde, Venus will appear as the morning star, which is the more yang, masculine warrior archetype of Venus. I was born during a Venus when Venus was a morning star. So it just says a lot about my relationships, how I show up in relationships, what I'm attracted to. My Venus is in Aquarius, so I definitely center friendships, and I love social media and so on and so forth. So in the beginning of the week, though, March 17th, and so every forecast that I've been doing with Stephanie Campos, the monthlies, and I've been talking a lot about the Libra Aries Eclipse series. The first one that is very profound in my mind was on October 14th, 2023. That was a Libra South Node eclipse. That was also when the ongoing escalation of Israel's bombardment on Gaza was really starting to ramp up, and the live stream genocide ensued. And so, whenever we have those two eclipses, there is going to be some other, storyline of Israel and Gaza. And so, we are right now in the waning phase of the moon. We are going towards the solar eclipse in the sign of Aries, which is the last one of its series. And so on March 17th, Israel broke the ceasefire killing over 500 souls, most of whom were children. And officially, the ceasefire is over and the genocide is continuing. I have so many things to say about this, but I just like it's just so like I don't even have words anymore, as you can see, because it's like, what else can you say? What other thing can you say to make people care that innocent babies are being murdered? There's no justification for that. And so, my only job right now is to help people awaken, help people to break the cycles and to just do what I'm meant to be doing. And that's really all we can ever do, right? We can only do our role. We can only show up in the ways that we were meant to and to share our gifts. But it's been really, really heartbreaking to see this continue again. I mean, none of us were surprised. We knew this was going to happen, but it's just I'm just praying that after this solar eclipse in the sign of Aries, which is Israel's seventh house, Israel is a Libra rising, that this is a conclusion to this occupation and all the apartheid walls come down and every oppressed person all over the world is free. Last week, I was in Mexico with my sister and my friends because it was my birthday. My solar return is on March 20th on the equinox. So I did visit Chichen Itza again and I saw the descent of the serpent. And that's something that I've always wanted to do. And it just so happened that I was going to be in Mexico during my birthday. So my friends and I, my sister, we all went to go see it. It was an amazing, amazing thing to see in person. What I found interesting though was on the same day, they discovered these cylindrical structures underneath Khafre, which is the middle pyramid in Giza. So I was just like, the pyramids are activating. And I just thought that was really cool because I also just recently went to Egypt and went to the pyramids twice. So I don't know. I had this thing for pyramids all of a sudden because even last year on my birthday, I went to Teotihuacan, the pyramids in Mexico City, the city of the gods. And I feel like this is just going to be a tradition now. Who knows? So yes, I'm a March 20th Equinox baby, and I celebrated last week. So I'm an Aries. I'm officially a year older and wiser. So I guess we'll start with the astrology because there is a lot to get through. On March 24th, so we start off with the moon being in the sign of Capricorn about until noon Eastern time. And we'll enter the sign of Aquarius towards the evening and form a conjunction to Pluto. So already the moon being in Capricorn, so starting the week, the moon is in two Saturn ruled signs, and then it's going to make a conjunction to Pluto towards the evening. This gives a more serious vibe. Like the vibes are serious. The vibes are maybe stoic. Saturn can also bring fears, and so can Pluto. So Monday, just look out for the fears that come up because I always say also because there will be a Mercury Cazimi at 4 degrees of Aries on the same day, that right before a Cazimi, the planet is in the beams and the rays of the sun being burned up. It's called combustion. And so even like the Venus Cazimi, the week before the Venus Cazimi, you might have had some triggers come up. You might have had some difficult situations going on with your relationships because Venus represents our relationships, our value, our worth, our finances. Mercury's more about contracts and communication. So, yeah, just like watch out for like the morning to afternoon on Monday, March 24th, because you might be feeling heavy vibes, to be honest with you, while Mercury also is burning up in the sun. And then we will have a Mercury Cazimi at 4 degrees. So we just had, remember last week we had a Venus Cazimi in Aries, and then we also had the Sun Neptune conjunction, which is a Neptune Cazimi, and in the sign of Pisces. So you are starting simultaneous new cycles in your Aries and Pisces houses. So Pisces is the mutable water sign ruled by Jupiter. It is the end. It is unity consciousness. It is our connection to the divine. And I love using that Rumi quote as an example. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. And Aries is the beginning. Aries is a cardinal fire sign. This is what starts the spring, the season. And so there's something simultaneously ending and simultaneously beginning in both of those houses. So Mercury Cazimis, this could be a great time to receive downloads because when the planet goes into the heart of the sun, that's what Cazimi means, in the heart of, it's being renewed and rebirthed. And the sun represents, our life force energy, our ability to have vitality and energy, and can sometimes mean fame, and Mercury representing contracts and communication. And so this could be a great day to get downloads, to send those messages, to just commit to yourself to maybe speak up if that feels aligned for you, because it's in the sign of Aries. It's like you got to start like speaking up for what you believe in. Like silence at this point is not an option. So on March 25th, Mercury retrograde will then sextile Pluto in Aquarius at 3 degrees. So then it goes from this rebirth in the Cazimi to then making a harmonious sextile to Pluto. So power words, having deep conversations, having the conversations that you might have avoided, speaking about a past trauma or a past experience that you want to bring to the light. And this is a good day to do it on March 25th. On March 24th, the moon will enter Pisces. And then on March 27th, Venus retrograde will re-enter the sign of Pisces, which I think will give us a little bit of a reprieve. So you want to pay attention to what happens on March 27th, because Venus is exalted in the sign of Pisces. So I feel like we're going to have this interesting shift of energy, because Venus is when Venus is in Mars's sign, that means that Venus is in territory that it doesn't normally like. So Venus can be a little bit more feisty. You get more of the dark feminine, you get more of the combativeness, the activism, the resistance. And as you can clearly see in the news and on social media, that people are protesting again, and there are student protests again, very reminiscent of last spring. And so I'm very curious to see what happens when Venus moves back into the sign of Pisces. And this will bring you back to February 3rd, when Venus was in Pisces before the retrograde. Now, Venus retrograde in Pisces will then conjunct Neptune in Pisces at 29 degrees. And it's so interesting what's happening to Neptune, because Neptune is literally at the last degree, at the anaretic degree. It's finishing up its 14-year cycle in the sign of Pisces and gonna shift signs in a couple days. And so Venus retrograde in Pisces, touching Neptune in Pisces. Now, this will bring you back to February 1st, when Venus and Neptune were together at 27 degrees at the exaltation degree. So you want to think back to what happened in early Feb to remind you of what this could be about. I remember early February was the Grammys, and Chappell Roan won a Grammy, and she has a stellium of planets in Pisces. This could be a very dreamy time. usually when Venus and Neptune come together, it is a little delulu, like rose-colored glasses kind of thing. So again, if you have exes coming back during the Venus retrograde, you could have a momentary lapse of judgment, be like, wait, I forgot all the things that happened in the past, and kind of romanticize the past. So just beware, buyer beware. And again, this is very interesting because on March 27th, the moon, Saturn, Venus, Neptune, the North Node will all be in the sign of Pisces. So, again, this is very reminiscent of February when all of this was happening back then. A lot of concentration of energy in Pisces. And so I think this is going to be, gosh, I don't want to say this because, again, disclaimer that this is a general, like, astrological weather for the collective. You have to really hone in on the aspects it's making to your personal planets because a lot of this Pisces can be a lot for some people. This is a lot of water, and water tends to bring up the past, tends to bring up emotion, tends to bring up things that we need to deal with at a emotional level. So the best way to use this energy is to sit with it and to feel it and allow yourself to be in the waters of your imagination and the dream realm, because once we fully get into April, we are going to say goodbye to Neptune for a little bit. We get a little taste of it, and we're going to move more into the Aries energy, I would say. So I would definitely, I mean, just for example, when there was the Sun Neptune conjunction this past week and it was crossing over my IC, I was like, I had this sudden urge that I needed to just like move to a place by the ocean. You know, I just like had, I mean, I've been having this because Neptune has been transiting my fourth house, but all of a sudden on that Neptune Cazimi crossing over my IC, I was like, I need to move somewhere near the ocean. Like, you do not understand. And so this could be, not everybody can move, right? But this could be a good day to go by a source of water, like a stream, a river, a lake, an ocean, if you have access to it. You could go to a bathhouse. You can go to the spa. You can take a bath, visualize the waters, like kind of cleansing you. I would not do drugs on this day. I would not drink a lot of alcohol because this is a day where you could literally like drift, um, and just not have enough grounding. It's my own personal advice to you. On March 28th in the morning, the moon will make a conjunction to Saturn, the North Node, Venus, and Neptune. So the moon will be making all these conjunctions. You can have this sudden feeling again of seriousness of your destiny, of your purpose. You can have this very, like, I'm always so wary of like how I want to deliver this message. I want to give the multitudes of possibilities, because if I say that this could be a day where you might feel doom and gloom, the power of the mind, then you will be like, I'm going to feel doom and gloom, and then you start to like have this self-fulfilling prophecy. Some people may feel a sense of doom or gloom just because, again, this is just a lot of Pisces energy. The moon is connecting to Saturn, which gives this very serious undertone, a couple of fears a couple of fears. Okay, you might spiral. But the North Node and Venus and Neptune have this like dreamy quality. So I don't remember if it was a few weeks ago, I gave the advice of watching very Piscean films like The Labyrinth. I love that movie as a Piscean thing because the main characters are going on this journey and literally going through a labyrinth, and the whole purpose of it is to trust your intuition. And I love that movie. David Bowie and Jennifer Connelly. And the never ending story, and just these like very imaginative, dreamy films that can kind of get you out of the physical realm and get you to imagine more. Because I was sharing at the embodied astrology workshop I led yesterday during the Venus Cazimi that resistance to the current system and structure is you have like that is inevitable. When you are resisting a violent system, violence begets violence. When you are resisting against an oppressive regime, you have to resist. Otherwise, like we would die, right? That's one part of the story. The second part, which I love this Kwame Ture quote, which basically says, like, you are not a revolutionary if you're just focused on dismantling. You also have to create something new. And so, what I believe is we're going to divest, stop buying from their corporations, stop buying into white supremacy, stop buying into the patriarchy, decenter men, decenter these hierarchical structures. Don't buy from Starbucks. I mean, if you are still drinking Starbucks, first of all, what is wrong with you? The coffee is terrible. Support local coffee shops. Okay. There are so many. I like, especially if you live in a big city, like, there's no reason to drink that shitty coffee. Anyway, I know not everybody can divest from Target because that is literally the only grocery store near you. So it's about divestment and not being perfect at it, but doing the best that you can because we all have to do our part. Like, if you can't speak up on social media because you're afraid to lose your job, then are you showing up in other ways? I don't expect everybody to protest because that's a very able-bodied thing to expect of people. Not everybody is able-bodied to go show up on the streets, and also, I personally don't believe everybody should be protesting. I think everybody has their role and you have to do yours. So I'm going off on a tangent right now, but my point is, with all this Pisces energy and Neptune still being at Pisces at the anaretic degree, we have to reimagine and use our creativity to create systems that are different than what we have currently been experiencing. That is the whole manifestation 101. If we are replicating systems, if we are continually just going on these cycles of violence, then we will never get out of this system. We will never be done. And that's the difference between now and past revolutions in the past is the oppressed became the oppressor and they just replicated these systems. Okay, so there is this unknown third thing that we don't see yet. Meanwhile, there are people in your local community already doing mutual aid, or they're already organizing. There's already community kitchens. There are already revolutionary bookstores. There are already people doing it on the ground. They might not be as technologically savvy to share that on social media, but they are there. You just have to find them and you have to start organizing off of social media and with your local community. And so I really believe with all this Pisces energy, because Pisces is the water sign of um, community and remembering that we are all literally interconnected, right? Aquarius, which is the air sign version of networks and community building, but they're both very similar in that it talks about bringing people together. Okay, so on March 28th, I mentioned that the moon was going to connect to the stellium of planets in Pisces. On the same day, the moon will enter Aries around 5 p.m. and conjunct Mercury retrograde. So I love how the moon is just like connecting with all these planets on the way to the solar eclipse in Aries, which happens at 9 degrees at 6:57 a.m. Eastern time. Please adjust for your time zone. And I'm actually going to share the chart as I always do with these significant lunations, just because I want you to actually see what I am talking about. Okay, so here we have, oops, undo that. Here we have Mercury at 0 degrees retrograde, and the sun, this is the glyph for the sun, this is the glyph for the moon. They are conjunct at 9 degrees in Aries. Great. So there's some kind of signature of this solar eclipse. A solar eclipse is a new moon. And again, like I mentioned, this is the last of its series from the last 18 months. So this is like the last hurrah. There's something about this eclipse that you will maybe hear news about. Something might be revealed as Mercury is at the critical degree, the world point. Anytime the cardinal signs are at 0 degrees, this is a world point. So some big news might come about on this day. Um, I'm a little nervous about this solar eclipse. I'm not going to lie. I always want to be real with you and also offer things to mitigate and also transmute this energy so that we can use these energies to transform ourselves within so that that's what's projected out and not our fears. The ruler of this moon is this Mars in Cancer at 22 degrees. Mars is still in Cancer. Oh my God. Mars has been in Cancer forever. Luckily, Mars has been direct, but Mars is still in Cancer. Mars is also, um, what's it called? It's out of bounds and it's also fallen in the sign of Cancer. So there's some. Oh, the other part is that Mars is exactly square to Chiron in Aries at 22 degrees. So there's some wounding, okay, that is going to be exposed that okay, at an individual level, you might hear news of um an abusive situation, somebody was abused in your family, or some secrets, family secrets, something that was hidden, um, will definitely come up to the surface, especially since that Mercury is a part of this eclipse story. Now, at the collective level, at the global level, this is just giving violence. I'm sorry, I don't want to say these things, but whenever I see signatures like this, I feel like it would be unethical for me not to say anything because of the ruler of this eclipse being Mars in Cancer. And I've said in previous forecasts that anytime I see something like this is like school shootings could happen, something with nurturing figures like mothers, like babies, and everything that I just said in the beginning of this video with Israel breaking the ceasefire. I just think that something big is going to happen and the world would be paying attention to it. On the plus side, though, the solar eclipse will be making a sextile to Jupiter in Gemini. So, sextiles are a harmonious aspect, but given everything that I just said in this context, news might spread really quickly, or there might just be like two sides of the story with Gemini being the twins. Mercury is also still in a sextile to Pluto. Again, another feature of how there could be secrets being revealed, disclosures possibly. There's still all of this in Pisces. I just believe that whatever you find out during the solar eclipse in Aries will change the trajectory of your life for the next like 6 months. So make sure you pay attention to what happens from this moment on. I mean, we're already in the eclipse portal to 6 months from now. Like what appears in your life, what is like transpiring in your life. To use this energy in a more positive way is to just pray, honestly, like pray for the highest timeline, pray for the highest outcome for all, pray for people to awaken under these under these energies. The more people awaken to the truth, the more that everybody will come on board. Pray that people will take action, right? Because it's not only like knowing things, you have to actually take action. I also pray that people will be brave, that they are bold too, and that you know what actually makes me not afraid is that I know that my ancestors have survived way worse in the past. And also, I feel so much rage and anger sometimes that I transmute that to burn away any fear that I've had. And I just pray that people are bold under these eclipse energies, because we really need more people who are conscious, who are awake, who are talented, who are ready to show up. And that's why I'm also so passionate about sharing these things, because it's like there are so many people I personally know that are so wise and smart and gifted, but they just won't share on social media or on a podcast or on a YouTube channel because they're afraid still of what people think of them. And that just really tears me up. So whenever my clients come to me and I see that in their chart, I'm just like you have something to say. We all do. And it's really not about why me. It's like, why not you? You're the one that has all this wisdom and this knowledge. And it doesn't have to be like face to face like this. It could be a book, or it could be writing. It could be a Substack. It could be a blog. It's just getting all of this wisdom and knowledge out there. And that's ultimately why I continue to show up, because I'm just doing my thing. I'm helping people to connect the dots. Somebody asked yesterday, how can we start to how can more people be awakened when those like things aren't happening in the United States? And I'm like, but has like this country was founded on the genocide of indigenous people of Turtle Island, and they continue to be genocided. This country was founded with chattel slavery, and we still haven't had reparations for Black people. Anything that they do to people abroad is what they've already done and what they continue to do here. And you have to connect the dots of how us not having healthcare and basic needs here is directly connected to what's happening abroad. So sorry, I'm going off on tangents again, just because like I feel like we're in such a pivotal moment right now where that's why I've decided to do these longer form YouTube videos, because it doesn't feel right to me to just do a 1 minute TikTok video being like, on March 30th, Neptune is entering the sign of Aries, and the last time that happened is the Civil War. Okay, goodbye. You know what I mean? Like, what are you supposed to do with that? Again, with the power of the mind, it's like you have that already set in your brain that that could happen. And then with confirmation bias, because of the algorithm, then you see it everywhere, right? And then it reconfirms your belief. And then through the self-fulfilling prophecy, we all literally like manifest that through our focus and attention. And it's like, that's not how this should work, actually. It's important for us to know the cycles, what has come before, so that we are aware and prepared for this moment, so that we can transmute everything from within, literally doing the shadow work, literally decolonizing ourselves, so that we can show up with the energy that we want to see in this world, that we want to project out into this world. So that is also why like I'm always hesitant in bringing up these things without preparing people in a longer format that yes, we are in these times of revolution. I believe we are already in a revolution, but the future is not written in stone. We have the power right now in the next 2 years to really change things. So on the same day as the eclipse, which in and of itself is like such a big deal, but Mercury will re-enter the sign of Pisces, and it will bring you back to February 13th, the last time Mercury was in Pisces. And then then Mercury will conjunct Neptune in Pisces at 29 degrees, and this will bring you back to March 2nd. So we're kind of like revisiting transits, because we're in a retrograde back in February, and then Mercury was conjunct Neptune back on March 2nd. So just look back to what happened. This is revisiting that storyline. And then finally, the moment we've all been waiting for, Neptune will ingress into the sign of Aries on March 30th. the last time this happened was on April 13th, 1861. The American Civil War began on April 12th, 1861. This is why this cycle is usually related to um, the US Civil War. Neptune has a 14-year cycle through each sign. So we are almost completing the one in Pisces and beginning the new one, but Neptune will go retrograde sometime later this year. So we're just getting like a little flavor of what it's all about. And like I mentioned, the 0 degree of the cardinal signs are world points. So Neptune will ingress into the sign of Aries at 0 degrees. So, like I said, the solar eclipse in Aries on March 29th, the Neptune moving into Aries, March 30th. Something is going on. Some big news is happening individually and collectively on those 2 days. um, so just as a refresher, the American Civil War began because the on January 1st, 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation, which was basically signed and sealed and delivered by Abraham Lincoln, the president at the time, which was to free the slaves of the U.S. The Confederate States in the South did not want the end of slavery. Wild, right? Fucking weird. Um, and so on April 12th, the Confederate soldiers in South Carolina fired on Fort Sumter in Charleston Harbor, which essentially began the Civil War. Also during the Civil War, Uranus was in Gemini, which was the USA's second Uranus return. And later this year, on I believe July 7th, Uranus will re-enter the sign of Gemini. So we are repeating 2 cycles this year. More on the Uranus and Gemini later on, obviously, when we get to that. But I just wanted to like pop that in just as an FYI. Individually, like look at where you have your Aries house. Again, you've already been dealing with a lot of transits there, but also your Gemini house. Jupiter is currently there expanding. Jupiter will leave Gemini in June, and then right after, Uranus will take its place. So that is the astrology of this week. I'm sure there will be a lot to catch up on, a lot to debrief on, and a lot to integrate after all of this. But as always, I wish you nothing but health, wealth, and abundance and protection. And I will see you next week.